Welcome to this half-hour special on Workplace Confidential. This special is going to be talking about stuff that's always happening in the workplaces. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, let's start, as always on this show, with the latest in COVID-19 cases. We're close to 19,000 cases, plus 4 deaths, plus the 352, plus 4, and the state in total cases, the state of Texas, it's like 637K, plus 2,000, 12,081 plus 74, none have recovered here in the United States. And Harris County, whoa, big number there, triple digits, like we're in the K now. And Harris County's not doing a very good job. You must always wash your hands every time. Every time you need to wash your hands, make sure to stay socially distanced, and wear a mask at all times. So as the old saying, keep calm and stay 6 feet away. But there is a cure going on, but there could be problems. We'll have that in a future show. But this week's going to be all about Workplace Confidential. So let's start by our first topic. And by the way, this special was inspired to me by an old 2020 special called Workplace Confidential. So let's start off with Workers Gone Wild. I mean, there are videos on YouTube that explain this. Like, in the office. And there are cases of employee fraud. And there are lots of videos on YouTube. Like this one 3 years ago. This employee was dancing on countertops, throwing food on their last day of work at a Michigan pizzeria, and they melted down in a cubicle rage. It often happens on camera. So what can be done about this? Well, if you're a manager, you need to handle it properly. I mean, you gotta talk with your employees and say, look, these are the things we must do. And we can work this out at all times. What if they don't want to work it out? I mean, as parents said, violence is never the answer. During a breakout session in 2013, America's Safest Companies Conference in Atlanta, experts urged employees to develop policies and procedures that address workplace violence and terrorist attacks. Here are some cases. Wesley Hidgen, a press operator who murdered his supervisor and 4 co-workers in a Kentucky cluster in 2008. The trigger? He reportedly had been reprimanded for not wearing his safety goggles and for using his cell phone for the job. Steve Davis, who is president and CEO of the Risk Management Consulting for GRMA, said it has these steps. You must develop and implement an active shooter program. You need to establish policies and procedures regarding weapons in the workplace, which in all instances and all workplaces do not all prohibit weapons, knives, guns, shotguns, etc. Perform a security risk assessment for your facilities and operations. Get to know your emergency planning committees and state emergency response committees. Practice in or monitor community-wide disaster drills. And preventing and handling, there are tips for how to handle this. An employee carrying or displaying a weapon on the job, not prohibited. Instance of pushing, shoving, hitting, or other physical aggression, prohibited. Breaking or destroying property in an aggressive fashion, not allowed or prohibited. Significant threats of violence. This is from the, these are all just employee fraud. That's not what we're talking about. It's all about cubicle rage. And we're going to look at that case with a gamer, with a person who worked at GameStop who was written up for slow sales when you return. So, today is our special Workplace Confidential series on our show where we talk about things that employees have done. And today we're going to be talking about workers who have gone wild. So, let's continue on. 40 insane things workers did that got them fired. There are times where employees can get fired for these things. According to ThoughtCatalog.com, these are the 40 things. This excuse. He slashed my tire after I told him to go to work instead of sitting in the break room. That's a bit harsh. Harsh excuse. Number 2, he put his hands in his pants, scratched his crotch, and told a customer to smell his fingers. Worked at a job with his co-worker, put his bare hands in his pants, scratched his crotch to the register while helping a guest. When the guest commented, he put his fingers in his face and said, "Smell it." That is being rude to a customer, and that is reasons why we don't do that in front of customers. Before I continue, I want to warn you guys, for the kids watching at home. This is not going to be for children, so I want you to brace yourselves. If you have children in the room, I want you to ask them to leave the room. Have them go do something else. Next one, number 3. He laid his penis on a reel of cheese, took a picture and sent it to some co-workers. From Malabar, he says, a former friend of mine worked at a cheese factory. He laid his penis on a reel of cheese, took a picture and sent it to some co-workers. Big found its way to a manager who fired my then friend on the spot. Yikes. Don't ever do that. Number 4. I had an employee pull a gun on me. This was after he was, fired for threatening another at a tier 1 help desk. Made everyone uncomfortable, and the entire time he was there, he's still in jail. It's been 8 years now. Number 5. He was smoking crack with bums in the park while he was supposed to be at work. One of our delivery drivers was supposed to be training a new employee, basically driving around and introducing to routes of customers and that type of thing. Willie told the new driver to just drop off the park down the street. When I was driving 50 next to the park, He was smoking crack with Thompson. He was smoking crack cocaine with Thompson at the park. Yikes. Someone should just call his boss and say, look, this was unacceptable. Train your employee better. Number 6. He rubbed a pregnant co-worker's belly 3 times after being asked to stop, then asked her if her husband was good at the sex. That is TMI. But he said, I fired him and asked if we could still be friends. No. He tried to file for unemployment after the only worker was there for 3 weeks part-time. Number 7. He passed a female co-worker a note at work one day with a gob of lotion, hand lotion, inside the words, I got really excited thinking about you earlier. And after that, the girl freaked out, went to the management, the guy got escorted out. Because there is dating policy at workplaces. And we'll have that for you on a... We're going to have that for you when we come back. Now, we all know if you go to work and meet a girl, you fall in love, basically, but what if there was a policy put in place that prohibits people from dating other coworkers? I mean, isn't it against company policy to date a coworker? The answer is, when coworkers are on the same level embark on a romantic relationship, chances are there will be no problem unless one or both of the parties are married to others. Employers might be concerned that a worker who is privy to confidential information may leak such information to a romantic partner. But legally speaking, in most states, an employer can enact a policy that prohibits employees from dating one another. Many people meet at work before beginning a romantic relationship. Prohibiting it could decrease morale and can even result in losing employees who wish to date coworkers but can't. So I would say yes and no. But what are the rules of dating a coworker? For those who want to have a date with your coworker? There are 15. Take it slow. Know the formal policy. Avoid your boss or direct reports. Keep things quiet early on. Get on the same page. Be professional at all times. Be sensitive and respectful to others. Always just focus on your job, especially if you want to imitate gossip. Keep love quarrels out of the work fray. Don't let disagreements affect your work. Remain ethical. Remain focused on your work. Stay on task at all times. Know the potential legal profits. Go easy on text and emails. Don't talk about work at home. And lastly, consider what you want to do if things do work out. Like, if you marry your coworker, it's going to lead to like in that scene from Ted 2 to where they were making out in the grocery store. And it's like, okay, don't ever do that. Alright, back to Employees Gone Wild. Number 8. She got drunk on her lunch break, flipped her car, went to jail, mugshot with our company logo on our shirt. Okay? He made fun of the GM's handicapped son. That was unacceptable. If you're a general manager, you have a son who's handicapped with special needs, it's your job as an employee not to make fun of them. That could really hurt their feelings, and that is bullying and or harassment. Don't ever do that. Number 10. He beat up his girlfriend in the parking lot. Violence. Fire. Beating his girlfriend in the parking lot required the shotgun when I had him placed under arrest and pressed charges. Number 11. She completely wrecked the company apartment. Number 12. He shut the pizza shop down 5 hours before closing time. It's like, For what? Smoking pot? He said, I worked in a place that had a guy back in the day, fellow manager, who tried to shut down the store 5 hours before that time that corporate set us to close. He clocked every person out and sent them home, and they just refused to take phone calls, anything like that. He was fired immediately after our boss found out, and he even tried to come into work and make it seem like everything was fine. It's like, dude, gotta close at a certain time. If they're not busy, if there's no one there, it's like, okay. He was Snapchatting as he drove an ambulance with a crew member and a patient in the back to the intersection during the red light. Okay. He led police on a high-speed chase during work hours. Okay. GM watching it happen from his office, took the lift down, found a co-worker's car, told him not to bother getting out. He was in the restaurant serving and told a female customer, shut your effing kids. He said he wasn't the manager when he watched the whole thing happen. A few years ago, I worked in a restaurant where we had an annoying new hire, one of those, I'm too good for this types. It was the kid's first job and the first day of training. One of his tables was a family with 2 small children who were being obnoxious. But hey, it's a family restaurant and it's expected. While away from the table, he muttered something along the lines of, shut up, you effing kids. Except he didn't actually mutter. He spoke in a normal voice. The mother overheard and was not pleased. He was sent home and not to return. Terminated. You see, that is the reason why profanity is prohibited in all workplaces. We'll get to that on Friday. I had to fire a tech on her first day for drinking vodka in the employee bathroom at 9 a.m. I mean, alcohol is prohibited in all workplaces. Period. Smoking. If you're going to go outside and smoke, fine. But if you're going to drink alcohol, that is prohibited in all workplaces. I mean, come back from your break drunk, and then you can't control it. Unacceptable. Number 17, I fired my brother after finding out he lost us $1 billion contract because of meth addiction. Okay? That's why you should never do drugs like this if you're going to be still addicted to it. Number 18, I gave her a document and she tossed it like a frisbee in her trash can. I gave my secretary a document that I wanted incorporated into a letter that I had written, and she shoved the document like a frisbee in the trash can. It was literally my only copy, so I had to walk over and fish it out. That was our last day. Jeez. He passed out in a customer's driveway with a glass pipe on his chest. When he asked what's going on, I was on break. It wasn't weed, it was just spice. He said, sorry, but it's not going to work out. Like, okay? Lastly, you stole another employee's ID, cash that person's check with it. My husband's a manager in this place, somehow had another employee's ID and stole that person's check and cashed it. It was all on camera, and she still denied it. Why not take a lie detector test? She drank vodka from a plastic wine bottle while on the job. Wow. Oh God, that's the reason why alcohol is prohibited at workplaces. This employee was a nurse who was drinking on the job, snuck vodka in a plastic wine bottle. We all became suspicious when she began behaving erratically. When we noticed that she was super possessive of the bottle and never left it leave in her sight. When anyone near it, she messed up, left it in her desk when she went to the bathroom, sniffed it, and she was busted. And so was the woman. That was the reason why alcohol is that's all the reason why alcohol is prohibited in all workplaces, because of the dangers. He broke his hand on the boss's desk during a loud disagreement. Co-worker got into trouble for something and got called into the owner's office. 2 minutes later, he heard a huge thump. Idiot broke his hand on the boss's desk during the disagreement. Got police escorted out the property for vandalism. Smoked crack during lunch break, justified because he was on break. You aren't supposed to drive across the vehicle to the job site for literally reasons. You're not supposed to smoke crack, even on break. Drugs are prohibited. Drugs are bad, like I told you. Next, he would overcharge customers for someone and then pocket the difference. Okay? So they had a guy who would bring in dining orders for 5 sodas and the amount that people ordered, but then before they cashed out, he would move all but 1 or 2 would pocket the difference. He would give them the first copy and says, of course, that's what they ordered. He never said anything when he realized they could be paying cash. He changed it, and I realized one day he was fired. He took a contact, wiped the junk all over it, and stuck in the secretary's box. He said, I saw an employee that didn't want to sign their contact ticket, so I'd stick it down the front of his pants and wipe it down with his junk, like, and then stick it in the secretary's box. The contact was burned in the box, disinfected, and the employee was fired for inappropriate gestures. Punched the supervisor and made fun for it. Punched the supervisor and made him run for it. He had a permanent resistance pending and brought up the warning. Must have a pretty bad anger management issues to throw your whole life away over not wanting to switch departments for a week. Yikes. He pooped his pants and then got it all over the office. So one of our warehouse workers was a young man about 25 years old. He was suspected of having a drug problem, mostly of absenteeism. That he just seemed off at all times. One day he called our office manager from the back of the parking lot of our building and said that he was upset stomach and had shit his pants. She told him he would try to find a change of clothes to bring out and turn up, but of course you couldn't run into the office in the back into the back of the lobby, drilling poops near on his shoes on the floor. And he took off the poop pants, left them in the bathroom, ran back outside his car at the point everyone else in the and Small was running outside this getting horrible smell. Oh my God, it's smell! And at that point, everyone else in Small was running outside this getting horrible smell. Office manager found a pair of pants in someone's locker, took them to where the guy was parked, but turned around. When she saw him standing beside his car with no pants and underwear on, nothing but his junk, while everyone else was figuring out with the poop in the office, the guy was in his car and left, showed up back to the meetings, nothing happened. Was told to head on back home. I could never figure out why he went outside. You could poop in your pants. You wouldn't just get in your car and drive home, or just take a shit in your car. He was dealing crack from the back of the restaurant. My employee was dealing crack from the back. One was high hammer nine off over a fryer. Another went off rude or a customer. You're right for starting an interview. One called him a racial slur and confronted him about it. In fact, and one day she sat down and refused to go back to work because a hockey game on TV. Okay, 2 more. He set a paper packing machine on fire because it got stuck. It was like, does it get stuck? Listen to this. A machine is compressed from recycled paper and it's slashed out automatically using the strip for filling during packing. You can get stuck sometimes, especially if you make short strips for filling. Warehouse man got stuck one day and could not dislodge it, so they thought it'd be good and they had to burn it because it's paper. Next to a large propane tank, 47 kilograms. Fire insurance lucky the tank didn't get caught. Then he threw the bucket of wire to quench the fire. Machine was still plugged in and powered. After he decided to try to dislodge it again by sticking his hand in the automatic starts and then what happened then? It was safe for the AM and Eric turned up to work the next day. Last, he smacked his girlfriend while on Blake. He says, I hired a new server in a few hours into his shit took a break. I came on a phone call from the owner of the motel across the street a few minutes later. He apparently got an argument with his girlfriend and smacked her. The motel owner saw this and confronted him as he pointed at his car and said he had a machete in there, and if she didn't mind her business, he would cut her head off with it. Needless to say, he was fired on the spot. Next day, the convenience store across the street hired him. My wife was walking by and threatened her in front of the new co-workers. I knew the owners well. Calling him, he was fired again on the spot, thankfully. He never saw a psycho again. And I'll be back in a moment with a final thought.